Okay, so chapter 11. Breakfast sounds from the kitchen carry down the hall to my room. The chime, announcing the arrival of the food delivery, sliding through its slot. A crash, Bram knocking something over. Chairs scrape, voices murmur as my mother and father talk with Bram. Soon, the smell of the food comes in underneath my door, and maybe it drifts through the thin walls of our house, permeating everything. The smell is a familiar one, a smell of vitamins and something metallic, perhaps the foilware. When you're at home, in your room, and breakfast is cooking,
I smell the bacon.
what does it smell like?
Bacon.
Bacon?
Pancakes.
Pancakes?
I can't
Huh?
smell
Breakfast burritos?
I can't smell anything if I live downstairs.
I live downstairs and I still smell the bacon.
But so when...
Sausage.
Huh? Sausage? So all these smells tell you that breakfast is cooking and almost ready, right?
Yeah, I love my
And they're pretty good smells, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does Kasha say she smells when she smells breakfast? Vitamins and foil.
Wait, what was the second?
Would that make vitamins and foil? Because it's what the food comes in.
Oh.
That wouldn't make you too excited to jump out of bed and get in the kitchen, would it? No. Ick. Kasha, my mother says outside my door, you're late for breakfast. I know. I want to be late for breakfast. I don't want to see my father today. I don't want to talk about what happened yesterday, but I don't want to not talk about it either. To sit at the table with our portions of food and pretend that grandfather isn't gone for good. What happened yesterday?
Father who missing.
Father lost grandfather's sample, right? I'm coming, I say, and I pull myself out of bed. Out in the hall, I hear an announcement on the port, and I think I catch the word hiking. When I walk into the kitchen, my father has already left for work. Bram pulls on his rain gear, grinning wildly. How can he forget about last night so quickly? It's supposed to rain today, he informs me. No hiking for you. They said so on the port. My mother gives Bram his hat, and he jams it onto his head. Goodbye, he says, and heads for the air train, early for once, because he likes the rain. So, my mother says, looks like you'll have a little free time. What do you think you'll do? I know immediately. Most of the other hikers will use their time hanging out in the common area outside the school or finishing assignments in the school's research library. I have something else in mind, a visit to a different library. I think I might go visit Papa. My mother's eyes soften. She smiles. I'm sure he'd like that, since you missed him this morning. He won't be able to stop work long, though. I know. I just want to say hello. And destroy something dangerous. Something I'm not supposed to have. Something more likely to be found at an old library than anywhere else. If they truly do record the composition of everything burned in the incineration tubes. What's she talking about? What does she have that's dangerous? The poem, right? The poem from who?
Her grandpa.
Grandfather. And where was it kept? In her
Whatever it's called, the whole thing.
compact. Thank you.
I wouldn't want to get rid of it because that's like the last thing.
I know. Wouldn't you want to hold on to it? But what do you think would happen if she was caught with it?
Why is it so
Can't she
bad?
have it again?
Because it's like, well, not.
It's not one of the 100 poems that's been chosen. So it's one that's against the law to have. And what does she even say about it? Remember when she first read it and she realizes why it's not kept?
No, I
It's rage, rage. It's telling people to fight.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think society wants people to fight against them? No, they want everyone to be calm. They want everyone to follow their rules, right? I know. I just want to say hello. Oh, I read that, sorry. I pick up one of the dry triangles of toast tucked inside my foilware, thinking of the way the two poems looked on the paper. I remember many of the words, but not all of them. And I want all of them. Every last one. Is there any way I can sneak one more glance before I destroy the paper? Is there any way to make the words last? If only we still knew how to write instead of just type things into our scribes. Then I could write them down again someday. Then I might be able to have them when I am old. Looking out the window, I watch Bram waiting at the air train stop. It's not raining yet, but he jumps up and down on the metal steps to the platform. I smile to myself and hope no one tells him to stop, because I know exactly what he is doing. In the absence of real thunder, he's making his own. Kai is the only one walking toward the airtrain platform when I go outside. The train to second school has left, and this new one goes into the city. He must have to report to work when his leisure activities get canceled. No free hour or two for him. Watching Kai walk, his shoulders straight, his head up, it strikes me how lonely he must be. He's spent so long blending into the crowd, and now they've separated him out again. Kai hears me coming up behind him and turns around. "Kasia," he says, sounding surprised. "Did you miss your train?" "No." I stop a few feet away to give him his space if he wants it. "I'm taking this one. I'm going to visit my father, since hiking was canceled." Kai lives in our borough, so of course he knows the officials visited us last night. He won't say anything, though. No one will. It's not their business unless the society says that it is. I take another step toward the air train stop, toward Kai. I expect him to move, to start up the stairs to the platform, but he doesn't. In fact, he takes a step closer to me. The tree-spiked hill of the Arboretum rises in the distance behind him, and I wonder if we will ever hike there. The thunderstorm, still a few miles away, rolls and rumbles gray and heavy across the sky. Kai looks up. "Rain," he says, almost under his breath. And then he looks back at me. "Are you going to his office in the city?" "No, I'm going past that. He's working on a site out at the edge of Brookway Borough." "Can you make it out there and back in time for school?" "I think so. I've done it before when he was working out that way." Against the clouds, Kai's eyes seem lighter, reflecting the gray around them, and I have an unsettling thought. Perhaps his eyes have no color. They reflect what he wears, who the officials tell him to be. When he wore brown, his eyes looked brown. Now that he wears blue, they look blue. "What are you thinking about?" he asks me. I tell him the truth. "The color of your eyes." My answer catches Kai off guard, but after a second, he smiles. I love his smile. In it, I see a hint of the boy that he was that day at the pool. Were his eyes blue then? I can't remember. I wish I'd looked more closely. "What are you thinking about?" I ask. I expect the shutters to close in as they always do. Kai will give me some expected answer, like I was thinking about what I need to do at work today or the activities for a free rec on Saturday night. But he doesn't. "Home," he says simply, still looking at me. The two of us hold each other's gazes for a long, unembarrassed moment, and I feel that Kai knows. I'm not sure what he knows, whether he knows me or just something about me. Kai says nothing more. He looks at me with those changeable eyes, those eyes that I thought were the color of earth, but instead are the color of sky, and I look back. I think we have done more seeing in the last 2 days than in all the years we have ever known each other. The female announcer's voice cuts through the silence. "Air train approaching." Neither of us speaks as we hurry up the metal steps to the platform together, racing the clouds in the distance. For now, we win, reaching the top as the air train slides to a stop in front of us. Together, we climb on, joining groups of others in dark blue plainclothes and a few officials here and there. There aren't 2 seats together. I find a seat first, and Kai sits across from me. He leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Someone, another worker, calls out a greeting to him, and Kai calls back. The train is crowded, and people pass between us, but I can watch him now and then in the gaps they leave. And it strikes me that this might be part of the reason I'm going to see my father today, not just to destroy the paper, but to ride on this train with Kai. We reach his stop first. He climbs off without looking back. From the raised air train platform, the rubble of the old library appears to be covered in enormous black spiders. The huge black incinerators spread their leg-like tubes across the bricks and over the edges into the basement of the library. The rest of the building has been torn away. I climb down the stairs and walk toward the library. I am out of place at this worksite, but not forbidden. Still, it would be better if no one saw me yet. I edge close enough to see down the hole. The workers, most dressed in blue plainclothes, suck up piles of papers with the incineration tubes. My father told us that night when they were thought that night, when they thought they had gone through everything, they found steel boxes of books buried down in the basement, almost as though someone tried to hide and preserve the books against the future. My father and the other restoration specialists have been through the boxes, and they haven't found anything special, so they will incinerate all of it. So what did they find in the basement?
Books.
Boxes of books, and it looked almost as if somebody was trying to hide them.
I'm so good.
So remember, they have the 100 poems, the 100 songs, 100 drawings, 100 books. So, but they got rid of everything else. So they only have the 100. So these books that they found in the library were not on that list. They're not part of the 100 books.
He tried to hide them because he didn't want them to find it.
So not her father though, but somebody.
Yeah.
So probably
Society.
somebody that worked there. Probably not society, because society is the one that says they can only have 100. So it's probably
Grandfather?
one of the librarians or somebody that had worked there in the past that was trying to preserve them for some reason. One figure wears white, an official, my father. All workers have protective helmets, so I can't see his face, but the confidence is back in his walk. He moves purposely in his element, giving directions and pointing out where he wants tubes to go next. Sometimes I forget that my father is an official. I rarely see him on duty in his uniform, which he changes into at work. The sight of him in his uniform simultaneously comforts me. They didn't take away his ranking after last night, at least not yet, and sets me on edge. It's strange to see people in different ways. What do you think?